I get the problem sometimes with tonality, and I'm not saying that doesn't matter. But results, I think, are so important. I mean, so you could, in other words, you could have a great tone, you get everything right, get every tweet right, everything's compassionate, everything's caring, and then the cities are a disaster, or the unemployment's terrible, or wages are depressed, or there's no opportunity, or there aren't 480,000 new manufacturing jobs for all people. So I think there's never any sense of balance in the coverage of these issues where race really comes to the fore, sometimes really unfairly. And I want to help this, because I actually think there are a lot of people out there, because I've met them, that are tuning all of this out. They're tuning it out, and they're like, guys, can we have some solutions? Bruce, I know you want to get in here. But I think the solutions are there for everyone to see if we stop shouting at each other and actually just look at what works.
Well, Laura, thank you. Thanks for having me. The interesting thing about the gentleman earlier, the president has, when he spoke to the urban communities and said, what the heck do you have to lose? You got to remember, most of these cities and counties and municipalities were under Democrat rule for over 40, 50, 60 years. So when you take and look at the unemployment, the lowest black unemployment in the history of the United States, when you look at the urban revitalization, you look at the opportunity zones, pumping $100 billion plus in these underserved communities across the country, when you look at the highest consumer confidence, the highest uptick in black enterprise in terms of black business owners who look like me.
They don't care. But the far left that is running the Democratic Party does not care. It's almost like they want you to be angry and upset. Minority communities, they have to have people angry or upset. Otherwise, they can't get them to the polls, because how are the Democrats going to argue that they're going to bring the country up to 3.8% GDP? Are they making that argument? Because if they are, I'm missing it.
Well, they're not.
Well, no,
in fact, they're scouring the news to find little episodes that they can show to create a counter narrative that's false. Here's a fact that people didn't talk about during the 2016 campaign. There was a KKK Klansman who had a podcast talking all about his support for Hillary Clinton. If you haven't seen that, it's because the media doesn't give that kind of information attention. There's racist on all sides.
Shelby Steele, he's just one of my favorite writers and thinkers. He was on my podcast, as I mentioned earlier. He made another point when I asked him about the power, the rise of frankly impressive young people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Liberalism, as we practice it today in America, and as people like her practice it, is infinitely more oppressive to minorities than racism. They're fighting a ghost. In resisting her, I'm fighting a real threat, a real enemy. The biggest challenge in American life today is to get away from the guilt and the shame that we got into in the 60s over our past. Until we can do that, we're going to be vulnerable to people like her.
Dave.
Well, I actually like what she's bringing to the table, but the real conversation is we have not.
But he said her views are more oppressive to African Americans
totally disagree with that.
Than the racism of the past. And he went on to say a minority can do anything he or she wants to do today. Anything. Every profession, every business, every entrepreneurial endeavor, that minorities can do whatever they want today, and that is great progress for this country.
I think some minorities can do what they want to do, but let's just be honest, Laura. The playing field has not been level, and until we have real conversations about race in this country and where people started and where we go, we'll never get to the right place. Because I don't believe
I
don't think that the Republican Party is the boogeyman, and I also don't think Democrats are, libertarians or whatever people are trying to call them. We need to have real conversations in this country about race, and until we do, we're going to continue to be in this spot that we're in now.
That's a tired old trope. The problem is, during 8 years of the Obama administration, the repo man got to know more black Americans than they got to know any other group of people. We lost more houses, more automobiles, the whole 9 yards. And guess what? In just 2 years, just 2 years, since Trump has been president, we've seen an absolute reversal on every single indice of the American dream.
Trump's policies are working. Bruce, I think, again, look, when you talk about Trump's policies and their successes that are undeniable by any objective analysis, the answer that most Democrats give is, but he called certain countries S-holes, but look at Charlottesville. And I'm not discounting how people hurt when they hear words that offend them. I get it. But you also have people like even Joe Scarborough, who basically can't stand Donald Trump. And I think we have the soundbite. He and the new cat who wrote the book about Trump, the staffer I've never heard of, Cliff Sims or Craig Sims. I don't even know. What's his name? Cliff Sims. All right. So both of them they're not big fans of certain Trump things, but they both said the same thing about the man. Let's watch.
For instance, we saw him for 12 years behind closed doors. Never, ever once, I'll say it under oath, I'll put into an affidavit, never once heard him say anything close to being racially insensitive. Never once.
I've known him for 18 years. I will completely concur. Obviously, Bruce, you wouldn't be working for someone who was racist, and no one that I know who works in the White House would be working for someone who's a racist. No. So now where does the left go? Where does the left go with that?
I don't know where they're going to go, Laura. I will tell you this. I've been with the president since 2015, and I can tell you the left has always been used the race card, as I call the real voter suppression, to intimidate brown folks like me across the country, to keep us from looking at the ideas of free enterprise and a free enterprise that we can grow a business, that people who look like me. Laura, I've been a business owner for 27 years out here in Atlanta, and I can tell you the best job growth that we've ever had is this president. This president, and I quote this, is the best president in the history of the United States for Black America. Yes, I said that. There are more movement going on in terms of banking now for the urban community. Just for example, you go to most of the urban communities, the gas stations, the cleaners, the Popeyes fried chicken stores, they're not even owned by Black America. With this president, Laura, with the urban revitalization and the consumer confidence that's going into this urban market, you will see more and more people who look like me in these communities who will be the job owners, who will be the job creators, who will go out and then cultivate and have their own grocery stores. For once, this president has the plan. We have to stop getting off all this emotional stuff. Black America, stop being emotional. Pay attention to the numbers. The strongest GDP growth, the strongest job unemployment in the Black history.
Stunning.
So these are the things right here we look at, not the emotions. You want to be.
Yeah, Mark Cuban was saying the market was going to.
If you want to feel good, go to the spa.
Yeah, it's up 6,000 points for 2 years ago.
You can't deny the relative growth, particularly for Black Americans.
But it started because of
Black
Obama.
Americans.
So that's the line.
Yes, it is true because it is true because you have to understand that when Bush was the president, the country tanked, and then the economy began to turn around. Let's just be honest. Now, don't just say you come in 2 years.
Hold on, let the economy finish, then you can
increase like that. Come on.
4 of the records for worst employment for Black Americans happened under Barack Obama. 5 of the best records for Black America have happened under Donald Trump.
All right,
now,
Bruce,
you can't deny that.
All right, Bruce, I mean, I just keep going back to if Obama had all the answers, and if he was, then why didn't he, when he said none of these manufacturing jobs were coming back, it's like, what is Trump going to wave a wand and they're all going to come back? Well, 480,000 jobs have been created or brought back to the United States because of his policies.
Some of them are leaving now.
480,000. And if Obama was so great, why didn't he renegotiate NAFTA? He said he was going to do it. He never did. Why didn't he do criminal justice reform?
And he told us.
He said he was going to do it and never did.
He didn't do criminal justice reform.
Laura, you know why?
The Republicans wouldn't call it on the Senate floor. Is why they wouldn't do criminal justice reform.
The reason why is because President Trump, candidate Trump at the time, promised the American people that he would not entertain pay to play. The system for decades and decades have been wheeled and dealt with. This president is not beholden to anyone, and everyone that was in the beginning of the campaign that tried to use his name or to make a profit end up in trouble. We are the real people who stand with the president from the beginning because he's promised the American people he would not be beholden to special interests and lobbyists, and that's what everyone's angry about because he will not sell out the American people, by the people, for the people, Laura. That's who we are.
D, last word.
Well, I'm just saying, I wouldn't be so happy to be with him. Most of his campaign team is being indicted, so I don't even know if that's a good thing to talk about.
Here we go.
It's the truth. The truth is the truth.
Most of
it was Barack Obama who told us that if Trump was elected, the end would come. He was wrong, and it's great.
They all say that.
We hope that Jesse Smollett is okay too. That whole thing.
The real 2015 Trump people, like myself and millions of us who were there from the beginning, we are in it to help this president. We are in it to make this country successful. We did not get in it, promise it a job and all that. Everyone that gets in trouble, we're wheeling and dealing on the side, and we're not taking care of the president. They were thinking about themselves, and yes, they deserve to go to jail because they should have never been playing on the side. And